the hyper perfection. You are lured into the circle by how hard they were, how dedicated they are to the mark, and making the best of whatever is they produce. But if you have the misfortune of agreeing work with the such a type, you will slowly discover the reality they cannot deal with because they have to oversee everything. It is less about high standard and dedicated to the group than about power and control. Such people often have dependency issue system from their family background, and feeling that they might have to depend on someone for something, open up old wounds and anxiety. They have patterns or initial success followed by burnout and spectacular failures. It is the best to recognize the type before getting immersed at any level. The relentless label, the hate authority and love under the underdog. This type of will often have a biting sense of humor, but which they might turn on you, but that is a part of authenticity. They need to let it deflate everyone off. So you think if you happen to associate with this type more closely, you will see that it is involving they cannot control it. Is a compulsion to feel superior, not someone higher on moral quality. In their childhood, a parent or a father figure probably disappointed them. They came to mistrust and hate all those in power. In the end, they cannot accept any criticism from the other because their traits of authority, such types are eternally locked in under adolescents and to the try to work with them. Will prove of productivity as trying to lock on the sullen teenagers. The personalizers these people feel so sensitive and thoughtful are rare nice qualities what you come to realize later on is that sensitive really only goes in one direction inward. So they are prone to take everything. If people say as good personally as children, they had the group gaining feeling they never got enough from the parent love, attention and material possess. As they get older, everything tends to remind them of what they did not get at some point they start to have a look of perpetual disappointment. If you can recognize this type of early enough, it is a best to avoid them as they will inevitably make you feel guilty or unmental. The drama magnet. They will draw you in with their exact existing presence as a children. They learn that the only way to get love and attention that lasted was to animate their parents in their trouble and problem, which had to be large enough to engage the parent emotionally over time. As you get to know them better, you heard more stories of declining and bull battles in their life, but they manage to always position themselves as a victim. You must realize that their greatest need is to get their hook into you by means possible, examining that past of evidence and patterns and none of all the hints. If you suspect you are dealing with such type, the big talker, you are impressed by the idea of the project that they are thinking about. They need help, they need the data. You are the sympathetic, but for a moment and examine the reports of sign, the past achievement or anything tangible, you might be dealing with the type that is not so fully dangerous but can prove maddening and waste your valuable time. They themselves never finish anything in the end. They tend to blame others for not realizing their vision. Society a force or bad luck. Often such people had parents who were inconsistent who turn on them suddenly for the smallest changes for their goals in life to avoid situation in which they might open themselves up to the criticism and judgment. Look carefully at the past for the sign of this. Is this in the type of amused by the stories, but to take it to no further. The sexualizers, they seem charged with sexual energy in a way of refreshing and unpressed, but in the truth, it is a compulsive and come from a dark place. In earliest people probably suffered sexual abuse in some way. A pattern and deeply set from within that cannot be controlled. They will tend to see every relationship as potential sexual. You cannot help or save them from their compulsion. You only save yourself from entanglement with them on any level. The pampered princess, they will draw you in their regal air, so you might find yourself doing favor for them, working extra hard for no favor and not really understand how or why. In childhood, their parents indulged them in their slightest dreams, protected them from any kind of harsh impression from the outside world. You will notice often that when they don't get what they want, they display like behavior, pouting, or even tantrums. This is certainly the patterns of all their intimate relationships and useless have a unless have a deep need to pamper others. You will find a relationship maddening always on that terms. If you feel guilty for not helping them, it means you are a hook and should look to care of yourself instead. The pleasure. You have never met anyone in life. Consider that slowly you begin in have to some doubts, but nothing you can put your finger on these types are. Consummate courtesy. cutters. They have developed their niches not out the genuine effects for the fellow humans, but as a defense mechanism. Perhaps they had harsh and punishing parents for their every action, just as when they were children. Behind a smile flattery is a great deal assessment at the role they have to play. You must be on your guard with people who actively exert as so much charm and politeness past the point of fear to Muhammad, the savior. You cannot believe your good luck to have met someone who will save you from different difficulties and troubles. In the beginning, it is all quiet, seductive, but your doubt begins the moment you want to assert your independence and do thing on your own. In the childhood, this type often had to become like a caregivers of their mothers, fathers, or siblings. This set partners they gain the greatest satisfaction from rescuing people from being the caregiver savior. But you can detect the compulsive aspect of behavior in the need control if they are willing to let you stand on your own two feet. Initial help they are totally noble. If not, it is really about the power they can exercise. In any event, it is always best cultivate self-resilience till saviors to save themselves. The easy moralizer, they communicate a sense of outrage at this, but of a justice or death. They are quite, but sometimes you detect crack in their practice. They don't treat their employees well. They are considering their spouse. They may have a secret life or vice. Categories. As with children, they are often made to feel guilty. A own strong impulse and desire for pleasure. They were punished and tried to repress the impulse. And so they are secretly drawn toward what they condemn, which is why they will inevitably have a secret side. Notice the lack of empathy early on keep you distant to superior character. The law is simple and inexorable. You have to set character. It was form out of element, the predate your consequence awareness from day within you, this character compel you to repeat action, strategies, and decisions. The brain is structured to facilitate this one. This one you think and think a particular action, a neural pathway is a form that lead you to do it again. And in a relation to this law, you can go in one of two directions, each determining more or less the course of your life. The first direction ignorance and denial. You not take notice of pattern in your life. Don't accept the idea that your earlier left a deep lasting imprint that compels you have to behave in a certain way. You imagine your character completely plastic and that you can recreate yourself. You can follow the same path to a power as someone as even. Thought they come from a very difficult circumstance. The concept of a set character can seem like a prison, and many people secretly want to be taken outside themselves through drugs, alcohol, or a video game. The results of the denial it is simple. The compulsive behavior and the patterns become even more set into place. You cannot move against the grain of your character or wish it. Wait, it is too powerful. The other direction is harder to take, but it is the only part that leads to true power and the formation superior character. It works in the following manner. You examine yourself and thoroughly as possible. You look at the deepest layer of your character. You look at your primal inclination, those subject and activities you are naturally known. You examine the quality of attachment you form with your parent. Looking at attachment you form with your parent, looking at your current relationship as the best sign of you. Look the regress on it at your own mistake and the pattern that continually hold you back. You know your limitation, those situations in which you do not you do your best. You also become very aware of your natural strength in your character that has survived the past. Now within the awareness, you are no longer the captive of your character. Compel and repeat the same strategies and mistakes as you've seen yourself falling into one of your usual. You can catch yourself in time and step back. You may not able to completely eliminate such patterns, but with practice, you can uh, mm, mitigate their effect. Knowing your limitations, you will not try your hand at a thing for you which you have no capacity of inclination. Instead, you will choose career path that suits your match with your character. In general, you accept and embrace your character. You desire had to become someone else, but to be more thoroughly yourself, realizing your true potential. You can see your character as they claim that you will work with the slowly transforming your every weakness. This strength, do not run away from your flaws, but rather see them as a true source of power. This is the ultimate that you must use yourself. If you are the hyper perfectionist who likes to control everything, you must redirect this energy into some productivity work instead of using it on people. Your attention details and high standard are as follows. If you channel them correctly, if you are a pleasure, you have developed fertile skills and real charm. If you can see the source of these traits, you can control the compulsive and defensive aspect of it. You as a genuine social skills and can bring you great power. If you are highly sensitive and prone to take things personally, you can work to be and prone taking this personally. You can work direct inactive empathy and transform this flaw into asset to use for a positive social purpose. If you have a rebellious character, you have a natural dislike convenience and a usually way of doing things. Channels this into some kind of innovation works instead of compulsing insulting allegations people for each weakness. There is a corresponding strength. Finally, you need to also define or cultivate those traits that goes into the strong character resilience under pressure, attention to details, the ability to complete things to work with a term to be tolerant of people difference. The only way to do is the work on your own habit, which go into the slow formation of your character. For instance, you train yourself do not to react movement repeatedly placing yourself in stressful adverse situation in order to get use them into boring everyday tasks. You cultivate greater patience and attention to details. Deliberately take on a task and attention to details. You deliberately take on the task slowly above your level in completing them, you have to work harder, helping you establish more discipline and better work habits. You train yourself to continue. Think of what is the best for some team. You also search out to who display a strong character associated with them as much as possible. In this way, you can assimilate their energy and their habit. And to develop some flexibility in your own character, always a style strength. You occasionally shake yourself up trying out some new strategy or way of thinking, doing the opposite of way you think would normally be. With such work, you will no longer be a slave to the character created by earlier year and the compulsive behavior indeed. Even further, you can now actively shape your every character and fit the goes within. In anything, it is a mistake to think no one can perform an action or behavior in a certain way. Once no more, the mistake of those who say, let us slave away to save every penny till we are 30, then we will enjoy work. At the 30, they will have to bend a hard work and will never enjoy themselves anymore. What no one does, no one will do. Indeed, they probably already done in the distance past. The agonizing things in the life it's our own decision that thrown us into the rut under the will, the crush. The truth is that even before making those decisions, we are going in that direction. Our decision and action inflammable moments of what we shall do another time, not for the very realistic astrological reason, but because the result from an automatic reaction, they will repeat itself become an elusive object of desire, the law of covetousness. Absence and presence have very primal effect upon us. Too much presence suffocates the degree of absence first. Our interests we are marked by the continuous desire to possess what we do not have. The object project, the fantasize, learn to create some mystery around you, to use strategies to make people desire your return. You want to possess your dangles in front of the other, what they are missing most in life, what they are forbidden they have, they will go crazy with desire. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. Overcome with this weakness yourself by embracing your circumstance, your fate. At least I have what I wanted. Am I happy? Not really. But what missing? My soul no longer has the active fulfilled by desire. Oh, we should not delude ourselves as isn't it fulfillment, but in the pure self. Key to human nature. By human nature, we humans are not easily contented with our circumstances, but some preserve force with us. Moment we possess something or get what we want our mind to bring to drift towards something new and different to imagine. We can have a better, more distant, unattainable the new object. The greater is our desire to have. We can all decisions. Grass is always greener. Science syndrome, the psychological equivalent of the optical illusion. If we get too close to the grass, to the new object, we see that it is not really or green after. Such a syndrome can be explained by three equalities to the of the human. The first is known as induction or how something positive generated as a continuous negative image in our mind. What this means is then whenever we see or image something, our minds cannot help but see or imagine the opposite. If we are forbidden by our culture to think a particular thought or entertain a particular desire, the taboo instantly bring to mind that very thing of where we are forbidden. Every no sparks for corresponding yes, we cannot control these qualifications in the mind between contrast. This predisposes us to think about then desire exactly what we do not have. Second compulsion it would be dangerous evolutionary of the conscious animals as a human in our Early ancestors had been prone to feeling content with the present circumstance. They would not have been sensitive enough to possible danger that lurk into the most apparently safe environment we no longer live. Savannah or forest teeming with the liver threatening predators of natural dangers, but our brain complaining and gripping. Thank you.